Hello and welcome to the Knitmancy podcast. I am your host Valentina, coming at you just south of Richmond, Virginia. And yeah, you can find all of my social media down below. Just a couple quick highlights. You can find me on Instagram as Middle of the Madness, on Ravelry as Knittermancer, on Tumblr as a bunch of different things, Knoll Princess and Knittermancer, and then on twitch.tv/Knoll or you can search Knoll Princess on Twitch, where I go live Monday through Friday, and I think those hours are going to be jumping up a little bit soon. Bug bite on the side of my leg. Monday through Friday, those hours will be extended soon. I think on Sunday I might be holding some little, on Sundays I might be doing a little like crafting stream, primarily dealing with spinning so I get more spinning done. Yeah, Monday through Friday. Hours are going to change, but currently they are from 2 to about 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Pulling weird fluff out of the stuff I'm sitting on. Yes, all show notes will be down below with links to Ravelry pages. Also down below this time, and probably for a couple more, I'm going to add in some things that you can do in order to make Ravelry more usable in case you still want to go ahead and look at my project pages. So that will be, what I'll do is I'll make it to where you don't have to go onto Ravelry to utilize somebody's fix for Ravelry. Okay. Yes. I have stuff. I don't have anything 100% complete, but I have stuff. I have stuff to show. It's not a lot of stuff to show, but it is stuff to show. So, because I have my sock blocker and I have a completed sock. I have one completed Hermione's Everyday sock. There we go. Color is, or the yarn is Chromatic yarns. Don't be a sad bear, or Merino sock and Don't Be a Sad Bear. It's based off of Critical Role. And I mean, aside from things that I normally do for my socks, yeah. So I have one done, and I have the second one started, which I guess means I need to put my bear on it. And yeah, it fits pretty good. Fits my foot pretty good, so yes. When I finished it, I immediately just put it on the blocker. I didn't wash it or anything, so it's just been chilling like this. So that's halfway there. I think the biggest alteration I've done from the pattern normally, the pattern as written, is I did a tubular cast on. Not that I'm not entirely sure that you can see the tubular cast on, but yeah. And it's 1x1 rib. Nothing special there. The pattern's by Erica Lueder. I mean, once I finish that, I already know what's the next sock. Okay. And now I'm just like so, I wish I had more caffeine in me than I do. Now I have my ghost horses, which yeah, this is a significantly more sweater-like than when I last showed it. So I have my little progress keeper back here. There it is. So, since you last saw this, let me stick it over here. Since you last saw this, I split for the sleeves. There we go. Split for the sleeves. And knit the body. And now I'm on to the bottom ribbing. So, there you go. So that's where I am. So the pattern is by Caitlin Hunter. Stick it back over here, block out some of that light. Pattern is by Caitlin Hunter. The yarn is Queensland Collection Rainbow Beach, which is 100% superwash wool. Pull this back up so the colors look right. The darker color, which is kind of actually has a rainbow effect to it, like truly rainbow. There we go. Put it over here, block that light. The darker yarn, the more rainbowy yarn, is 104, which is their Moonwynd. That is actually what it is. While the blue and tan yarn is same yarn in Starfish, which is color 103. And yeah, I'm on the bottom ribbing. I think I'm just gonna do short sleeves and call it good there. So yes, that's this. I feel like I should have I have a swatch. I have a swatch I can show you, which I mean, yeah. Since I like going from oldest to newest, I guess I can show the swatch, even though we're not getting anywhere with it yet. But my swatch. Put it up over here. You can kind of see. Mostly the swatch was just to check to see if I liked the patterns I was using together. So I've discussed I want to design a sweater, and I was going through my Fair Isle book, and I picked out. I know I pointed out the Shamrocky one, and some other patterns I thought would look really good with it, and I've made a chart. And the next step is I need to wash it, measure the gauge, even though it's not the best gauge swatch, but it's pretty consistent. I noticed that oftentimes my knitting gets pretty consistent. Instead of like a garter border, so I did knit this in the round. Instead of a garter border, I did like 4 or 5 rows of ribbing. Part of the reason why it only got this far is because I got tired of looking at the colors, to be honest. I really want to do like 2 versions of it because as previously mentioned, like don't mind all of its stuff. I have a Shamrock. And as you can see, his little leaves are really like purpley red. So he would be really cool. I mean, he's got some green ones, but he'd be really cool to kind of replicate. But the colors I had on hand to swatch, because it's primarily Knit Picks palette, they're not my favorites. And color has a lot to do with it. And I was only doing it so I could start getting numbers together, so I could start figuring out like how many to cast on and all of that. So I should be coming up with pattern. That light is so bothering me, but there's not a lot I can do about it right at this immediate moment. Yes, so I was trying out the fingering weight to see if that's what I liked. I mean, I do like the fabric. I do want to block it still, as I've said, to see how that affects it in this case. And yeah, so I need to work out all those numbers. This to work out. Yeah. We'll figure that one out. so we'll figure that one out. I am not caffeinated at all, so I'm just tired. I did make myself a cup of tea to see if I could get that to help a little bit. So, okay, sure. I can show you something that's in the works. So I wanted to sew a pair of stays. So far, what I have is not at all sewn together. It is absolutely just held together with pins and a lot of hope, because I wanted to try it on for sizing before I started really doing the whole thing. So I have all of the pieces. This is the Butterick, whatever the pattern is thrown all around. B4254, which is a collection of corsets and stays. And so I cut out the size 20. And as it stands, this that I have pinned together does in fact fit. Sort of. Bear with me. So stays. Let me flip it upside down. At the bottom of a pair of stays, there are slashes. Clearly, this does not have slashes. And the reason why it does not have slashes, can't even tell there. But the reason why it doesn't have slashes is because slashes come later. So here we are with our stays in a green fabric that is, I'm stabbing myself with pins. That's got lots of gold detailing on it. It's quilting cotton. I wasn't too worried about anything. I just really wanted to I wanted to make a pair that were just in whatever fabric I liked. So with green quilting cotton it was. And I only have one layer of fabric cut because that's all I had. I need to get an interlining, a stiff interlining. I have my zip ties to be the boning. Pull my turkey mug up. But like, I really can't do anything until I have all of the fabric and all the fabric cut out. And I don't know when that will happen. Yeah. I don't know if today will be the best of days for me. I mean, all of my mornings start with a dog trying to eat my head, so. And I'm just feeling very congested, I guess. It's a lot of snot, to be honest. And so I'm just me. So let me grab my knitting and I guess we will chit chat a little bit. So really not a lot has happened in life for me since I last did this, which, I mean, it happens. Yeah, I mean, I have some laundry I need to do, but that's a normal thing. I guess really the only thing to talk about is they are finally actually taking down a lot of the statues from Monument Avenue. And it was pointed out that Monument Avenue, as it is, as what we know it now, started off as a very segregated neighborhood. They straight up would not allow African Americans. The actual words are anyone of African descent to live there. So removing the statues has a deeper meaning that's even better. There's also still a lot of drama going on in the world, in the world writ large, not necessarily here in Richmond only. I know that we've got issues with evictions that might be coming up. It doesn't really apply to us, but I know that there are a lot of people it does apply to. In the state, oh, you know what I didn't do? You know what I didn't do? That I always do, just so. Let me move my stitch marker down. And then I will continue my blathering, my gabbing, my whatevering. Okay, that works. So yeah, I know for a fact Stonewall Jackson came down, and I mean, if we really want to, I just do not want my hair to be my hair today. If we really want to get into kind of what it is that, like, where Stonewall Jackson falls in all of this, while he was technically born a Virginian, he's from West Virginia. What's now West Virginia? What became West Virginia while he was doing war stuff. And I'd like to point out something that a lot of people don't really look at, and that absolutely people can look at. I also have another thing, that history thing that I want to complain about. If somebody's ever trying to argue that states didn't leave and the Civil War was not fought for slavery, first off, you can turn any argument into it was slavery at the end. The root of all arguments is slavery. Economics? Yeah, built on the back of slaves. Way of living? Yeah, you know, where even if you were a poor farmer, you hoped that one day you could own a slave. And none of this is a rage. This is all well documented. But in that, the secession documents for quite a few states. And so these are the documents that they would put out. So were the documents that they would put out saying, like, this is why we're leaving. And there are quite a few that are like, we want to maintain slavery. Just, yeah, I think that makes it obvious why they were fighting. They wanted to maintain slavery. So, yeah. Now, on to the other history thing. This was brought up last night in casual discussion, and it makes me mad every single time because, and I'm not even going to say it the way that it is, but it's Irish indentured servants in the United States. Some people call it by the wrong word because it was nothing like how we treated Africans or, you know, descendants of people from Africa that we brought over. You know, the actual slaves. Okay, well, I can agree. Being an indentured servant was not easy. People, the person who you had your deal with, your contract with, could make your life terrible. You could die. No, this is not a secret. However, as an indentured servant, you had protections under the law. You were still a person. You having a child with a non-indentured servant wasn't seen as something so unholy. And I mean, Thomas Jefferson, he's called mixed race kids. He called mixed race kids something like it's monstrous, or it just. But let's point it out. Let's talk. The Irish are not their own race. Irish is a nationality. It's someone from Ireland. Sure, indentured servitude was hard, but you were only a servant for a previously decided upon amount of time. And yeah, like, you could be a prisoner and they tell you if you work 7 years, you become free. If you work 7 years in Georgia colonies, Georgia was a prison state. That's why Georgia. If you work for 7 years in the colonies of North America, then you'll become free. I mean, that sounds like for a prisoner, your options are being in prison or working for 7 years. You're probably going to choose working for 7 years. But not everyone made it to the end of their indentured servitude. That's known. That's not a secret. But it was a whole different beast to being a slave. You weren't bought and sold. You had a contract with one person or one individual, one group of people, right? And your contract would end. And it was pointed out, I was just looking, trying to find some other sources. And it's been pointed out even, like, there were legal definitions for slavery. And indentured servitude does not qualify under the legal definition of slavery for the colonies. So, with that in mind, there were no Irish slaves. Anyone who wants to try to call them slaves can promptly actually leave this podcast. Please do not come on here and try saying that, because that is wholly ignorant. And unless you can prove that they were truly slaves, living in the same conditions as the African slaves, the African American slaves, like, I mean, if your mom was an indentured servant and she had you were free. You did not have, if she died, you didn't have to pick up her contract and none of that. You were free to go, kiddo. If you were a slave and your mom died, you'd still have to work. That's just how it is. Let's make this real. I'll do a little bit of searching and I'll post some just easy everyday people articles to read about this. That specifically, I looked at a New York Times article heavily featuring a historian talking about it. A bunch of other historians talking about it. Like, they all got together and they're like, no, this not that. Don't get it twisted. I'll probably also link I'll put down below an Instagram account of a public historian who also does reenactment. She's beautiful. And she focuses, and I'm like drinking a lot because I don't know what to do with myself. She She's a black woman who specifically shows how slaves lived, and she recreates the clothing that the slaves wore, and it's really awesome, really cool. And she's been doing every Monday like problematic history, which is even better. And she brought up the Irish slaves, and Irish slave, that narrative's the same as, to me, it's on the same wavelength as the Lost Cause narrative for the Civil War, where, yeah, we do not also mention that, because that's a whole nother can of worms that I don't want to, that now is not the time to talk about. So yeah, I think I'm going to go, and I'm like looking around trying to make sure I've got nothing else that's really notable to talk about. My hair not doing anything remotely. I might end up putting some product in it to get it out of the way, because I don't want to deal with it today. In fact, I have hair on my shoulder. So I think I'm gonna go. As I said, I'm not seeing anything else around here that I really need to talk about at this moment. So I'm gonna go. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. Stay healthy, stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask, and until next time.